Let me ask you a question. What should a Skyblock game mode be like? I think that it should be a bare-bones puzzle that challenges the player's creativity to come up with solutions and work with very little. The Terraria devs added an official Skyblock seed, but I think they missed the mark and took away a core part of what made Skyblock worlds fun. And it wouldn't be that hard to fix. If you're not familiar, a Skyblock world has you spawn on a small floating island with the rest of the world empty or nearly empty. Sometimes there are a few other islands. It's a minimalist challenge. You have almost nothing available, so how are you going to get what you need to beat the game? The problem is, instead of requiring the player to come up with creative solutions and use their game knowledge to figure out a way to win, Relogic just added a bunch of slimes to solve that problem for you. Really, Skyblock is more of Slime Block. How do you get grass and acorns? Slimes. Jungle grass? Slimes. Mushroom grass? Slimes. Dirt, wood, silt, slush, granite, marble, cloud, honey, hive, pre-hard mode ores, hard mode ores, potions, life crystals, conveyor belt, it's all slimes. That's one of two problems. The second is just that the developers took the least interesting route when answering a fundamental question. Terraria cannot be completed with just this island, at least not without severe abuse of glitches. The player needs a dungeon and jungle temple, and a lot of players are going to want to fight the evil boss, which requires a demon altar. So, how can you get the things you need to fight those bosses in Skyblock? Literally, the game just throws them at you as soon as you kill the boss immediately before it in progression. The Eye coughs up a demon altar as a drop. The Brain of Cthulhu dumps 500 dungeon bricks and walls on you. Skeletron drops a Hellforge to let you smelt hard mode ores. Plantera drops 500 lizard bricks and walls and an altar and a pick saw. It's by far the least interesting way to address the puzzle, and it's kind of lazy. The seed is basically spoon-feeding you to get through it, and I can kind of understand why. My guess is that because it's an official seed selectable in the menu, Relogic was afraid of making it too difficult and making it so that players got stuck without realizing how to get forward. So, it just throws everything you need at you, because subtlety is an 8-letter word for a coward. The reason that's bad is because Skyblock, at its core, sucks. This is not fun. It's a bunch of AFK farming, basically. You're not playing the game. It used to be a bunch of fishing, and the slimes make it so you don't have to sit there fishing, which does make it way more playable. But the enjoyment of Skyblock comes from the puzzle. You're presented a problem, and you have very few options on how to make the answer, but here, the developers solved the puzzle for you. And the answers are to kill slimes and kill the bosses you were going to kill anyways, so there's really not much puzzle, and the Skyblock worlds just feel boring. They're not fundamentally flawed, the concept is fine, and I think there are still some fun things to do. I had a blast figuring out how to get ice and sand, and setting up farms to get items from marble and granite enemies, and then using those items. And the slimes aren't bad, they're just overused. It's fine to get some items from slimes, and some of the slimes are very fun and pretty funny, but a lot of them aren't. They all have some gimmick to them. Let's take the wood slime. It drops wood. It has very high defense, so it's quite annoying to try to kill with early weapons. It's not very funny, it's not fun to fight, and it's not solving any problems. Zombies drop wood. Slimes drop acorns to grow wood. But this slime is the quickest and easiest method to get it, and it doesn't need to be here. Why start growing a forest when you can just kill a fairly common slime 100 blocks below spawn? The dirt slime is fast and drops dirt. It's not very funny, it's not fun to interact with, and it's not solving any problems. There was an interesting way to get dirt already. You could farm it using dirt bombs. You have your starting island dirt, and you can always shimmer stone and ores down to get dirt. Then you can turn all that into mud with water, which you can get by throwing a bucket down when it's raining. There are a bunch of steps to work out to try to get a jungle, and stuff like that is what the seed should encourage. Also, the drop rates for slimes carrying items are jacked up to a ridiculous level in Skyblock. You get items incredibly quickly, which isn't necessarily bad, but they compound to the feeling of being spoon-fed rather than challenged. I think slimes like the stone slimes are pretty cool. It is solving a problem, it's fairly funny, and it makes sense. Hive slimes are pretty good too. Conveyor belt slimes are great and hilarious. They're exactly the sort of thing you'd want to have in Skyblock too. But snow slimes? The game has a way to get ice through freezing water, which I thought was a very cool idea, and then it just throws slimes with snow blocks in them at you once you have some. Because God forbid Frost Legion have even a tiny use. Cloud slimes? We spawn on a floating island. It has clouds, and you could already get clouds through fishing. Ultimately, there are just too many slimes, and most of them aren't interesting or fun. Some of them even detract from what already existed. The worst offender here isn't even a terrible idea at its core. Life crystal slimes drop life crystals. But, especially when slimes are already overused as the solution to everything, it just turns getting HP into an incredibly boring and mindless AFK experience. You're doing the exact same thing everywhere, sitting still and waiting for slimes to go into lava to drop items for hours. Here's my suggestion. Remove the slimes that aren't particularly interesting and solve problems that already have solutions, like wood and dirt slimes, and add a different way to farm life crystals. What if we let gem trees drop life crystals when shaken? This adds a layer of separation between just farming slimes and getting life crystals. You need gems and acorns, then need to set up a farm and manually tend to it. It's scalable, and it would particularly help for multiplayer because of that. It also gives you a reason to do something besides sitting still and farming slimes. The slimes do help with soft lock protection and help to make sure things are possible even with weird seed combinations or without shimmer, and I do think they're much better than using shimmer as the solution. That would feel extremely unrewarding, and they're better than fishing, which was the Skyblock strategy in the past, but the fact is, it's not Skyblock, it's Slime Block. Back to the bosses, because much like the slimes, repeatedly using the same uninteresting answer to a puzzle is going to feel unrewarding and lackluster. These mandatory biomes should either spawn as additional islands in the world that the player needs to find, or be placed on the starting island. And they don't have to be these giant dungeon and temple structures. You can make the player work for it. I know a lot of players were disappointed that the world doesn't have additional generations besides the Shimmer Island, and I think some small structures could really help out. Why is Shimmer important enough to get the only other island in the world? It's not even necessary to beat the game, but the things that are necessary just get tacked on as an afterthought to boss drops. It adds linearity where there wasn't any in a normal world, and they even added new items to the game just to avoid having them spawn in Skyblock. I get that minimalism is a key part of Skyblock, and I'm not saying to fill the world with islands, just add a couple for the few things that need to be in the world. There is a way to get additional islands in Skyblock, adding extra secret seeds. These can add desert, ice, evil, hollow, water, lava, and mushroom islands. They can change the starting island location, and I think Skyblock is way more fun for a lot of players when those things are included. And I think it's mostly just because they give the players something to do besides just killing slimes ad nauseum. At the end of the day, if you cut out all of the exploration and mining and strip Terraria down to farming, you need to have interesting puzzles or a satisfying gameplay loop for that to be fun. If the answer to the challenge of, how do I do something, is almost always, kill slimes, or the game gives it to you for free, it's just not gonna be very fun to play.